This is Colin Richards, president and founder of Lord and Richards, and in this particular episode and segment, we are talking about the biblical principle of stewardship, specifically taught by our Lord in Luke 16, verses 8 and 9, where he identifies the children of this world as being wiser than many of the children of light. And so we've learned that we need to be humble enough to admit where we lack wisdom and experience and to seek out those who have that experience, and especially in the areas of money, finance, and business. A lot of times Christians can inflate our own self-assessment of our abilities when it comes to money and business, and then to learn wise principles to carry you through difficult times. And so I'm going to talk to you in this particular segment about what it means to implement wise principles of stewardship. And this is going to be a bit of a variety of truth here. So we're not going to drill deep on one particular topic. I'm really going to start in the area of planning. And so I want to remind you of one of the key statements that I make regularly on this program, and that is failing to plan is planning to fail. Here it is again. Failing to plan is planning to fail. What I often see is that people I meet with or talk to don't really have a comprehensive plan for retirement. They say that most people spend more time in their lifetime planning for vacations than they do planning for retirement. And that is true. That is true. I've seen it. When we spend so much time focusing on the activities of retirement, but we fail to focus on the revenue generation that's going to be required to do those activities, we put those things in jeopardy. So the lack of a comprehensive retirement plan is a plan to fail. Now you might say, well, what does that look like? Is it a little spreadsheet that I put together? Well, that's a good start. It's a good start for you to be thinking along those lines. But in actually 0% of the cases where people have brought spreadsheets into me or to my colleagues on the team at Lord and Richards, have we seen it thought through to the level and to the depth that it needs to be thought through. Often the spreadsheets may account for the possibility of growth. They may account for things like taxes, but they rarely get it right on the Social Security calculations. We see people literally leaving perhaps hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table simply because they lack a comprehensive plan. And that may be in the area of Social Security. It might be in the area of taxes. On our team at Lord and Richards, we have certified tax specialists, we have certified financial planner, we have certified chartered financial analysts, all of the key expertise that you need to avoid overpaying in taxes. And we know, if you've listened to this show any amount of time, that taxes is going to be a huge expense for you. It's the number one expense in retirement, the number one. And so just having a cash flow or maybe an estimate of what your investments are going to do and an estimate of your budget really fails to take into account things like, well, what about healthcare? Most people do not know the actual numbers they should expect to spend on healthcare. Did you know there are studies done annually and that number is revised annually and that we keep up with that at Lord and Richards? So it involves going a little bit deeper. You might say, well, isn't that splitting hairs, Colin? Can't I just have my little spreadsheet and feel comfortable? Well, sure, but the greatest barrier to retirement success and the greatest key to avoiding failure is to take those small things that are small now that we can make little adjustments on and avoid them becoming big things. In the realm of flight, I have several friends who are pilots. Even my wife has her pilot's license. I've learned that small adjustments are far better than big adjustments. I flew into Denver yesterday. I was out of town, and we had quite a bouncy ride, as many of us do, flying into Denver. It's just a windy airport. But imagine being on a flight, not landing, but actually midair, and not turbulence, but actually the pilot grabbing that thing and making a sudden, rapid move to the right or to the left or up or down. Right? We might think we're avoiding a missile strike or something. Those kinds of adjustments can lead to catastrophic failure, to disaster. But if we're building a plan, we have the opportunity in a safe, I call it kind of an antiseptic environment, to test out the greatest risks of retirement and make small adjustments now that will help you avoid failure in the future. One example is, of course, healthcare. But if we take healthcare another step further, how about chronic illness? You say, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'll be gone, or my family doesn't get sick. Well, 70% of the people I'm talking to right now, 70% of you, if you can hear my voice, are going to have a chronic illness event. That is a tough statistic, right? That is really tough to work around. And, we certainly hope that every single one of our clients is happy, healthy, lives long, never has to worry about it. But some of you have lived this out with family, with dear loved ones, friends, and you've seen the impact, the negative impact that can have to be disabled, to be chronically ill, the impact that it has on the people that love you. And especially if you're married, you really need to be concerned about the financial condition of your spouse and the physical, emotional, and spiritual condition of your spouse through and after the chronic illness. That's the number one cause of bankruptcy, is failing to make a plan for chronic illness. Number one cause of bankruptcy in retirement. So failing to plan is planning to fail from the perspective of taxes, from the perspective of Social Security, from the perspective of chronic illness, and certainly in the area of risk management. You know that at Lord & Richards, we give you written plans that cover all of these areas. And what we do is we actually take your budget, your goals and dreams and lifestyle, all the things that you're hoping for, either in the future or right now you're experiencing and don't want to lose. And we put that into a scientific assessment of the probability that you'll make it throughout life without ever having to run out of the resources you need to do the things that you love with the people that you love for all the reasons that are important to you. That's what financial independence is. And unfortunately, I would say the vast majority, easily 90%, when we take what you're currently doing now with your investments, and it might have been great advice you got from Uncle Larry or from the guy down at work or the guy over the fence, or maybe you're digging into Money Magazine or financial periodicals, but the simple truth is that it was never designed specifically to withstand the forces that can capsize the ship of your retirement. And so when we run it up against our tests, most of the retirements that we see fail. But the good news is that equally, the vast majority of those retirements, the people that we're meeting with, have saved well for retirement. They've set aside money. Most people we're talking to are following the principle of not living above their means. And I think you're probably one of those as well. And so all we have to do is make adjustments and start planning for some of those financial challenges. And we typically see that probability of success with a Lord & Richards Financial Independence Roadmap go well up into the 90+ percentile. It's very encouraging and it's very exciting when we do that. Meeting with folks, it's more than just the cookies at Lord & Richards. Some of you have heard of our famous home-baked cookies that you receive while you're meeting with us. And that's a good reason to visit, I got to confess. But more than the cookies, to be able to see the looks on people's faces when we meet together, we sit down, we review where you are now and where you could be. It's exciting to me to see the possibilities light up in people's eyes as they realize, you know what, this assessment, this scientific probability test has taken into account some of the worst things that can happen to people. And wow, look at it. There it is. Our plan is successful right through thick and thin, through good markets, through bad markets, through chronic illness, through the difficult challenge of navigating Social Security decisions, through the tax increases that are likely to come down the pike over the years to come. All of this factored in. So I'd be delighted to chat with you. I and my team are meeting with folks just like you every single day who are concerned about our world and what we're living in and the kinds of things that might threaten your retirement. So we'd be delighted to connect with you.